Hello. Well, I left a message this morning with Judge Bottomly. Her name is Leslie Bottomly, and she is the sister of Therese Bottomly. Therese Bottomly is the editor of the Oregonian newspaper. The Oregonian is owned by a company called Advanced Publications, which is headquartered in New York, and I talk about in my other videos, and I'd written about in my blog, but my blog's taken away by Google, that I had contacted the assistant to S.I. Newhouse back in 2013. S.I. Newhouse was the owner of Advanced Publications. I think his name was Samuel Irving Newhouse. And it's funny, Samuel, I think it was Irving Newhouse, his family purchased the Staten Island Advance newspaper back, I think it was in 1922, and then they started building their collection, and now it's a multi-billion-dollar company, Advanced Publications. Stephen Newhouse is now the chairman, because S.I. passed away. But in 2013, I was calling, emailing, faxing, and sending messages to the post office to the assistant to the assistant to S.I. Newhouse, a woman on Staten Island that worked in the office of the Staten Island Advance newspaper. So the message I left for Leslie Bottomly is that her sister refuses to report. Her sister Therese refuses to publish any information about, there not being a synagogue shooting. She refuses to publish any information about Mayor Ted Wheeler, Senator Ron Wyden, and Governor Kate Brown unnecessarily attending a vigil on the evening of October 27th at Beth Israel Congregation here in Portland, Oregon. The news media had reported that there was a shooting at the Tree of Life synagogue in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a neighborhood referred to as the Squirrel Hill neighborhood. It's where Fred Rogers used to live. He was a man that had a television show, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, on PBS for 40 years. I used to watch that show when I was a child. Bari Weiss is a writer for the New York Times. She had my Twitter account taken away from me because I had posted a reply to a tweet that she sent out. I mentioned that the Holocaust was a lie, the Holocaust from World War II. Bari is Jewish. But, there's several people that talk about the Holocaust being a big lie. Ursula Haverback in Germany, Monica Schaefer in Canada, are two people that talk about the Holocaust being fake. It's a huge lie. And you can see with a lie, it's possible for a lie like that to manifest. We have the lie of what happened on 9/11 here in the United States, 9/11/01. We have the lie about what happened with the World Trade Center, what happened with the Pentagon, what happened with Flight 93. We have lies about what happened with the Orlando Pulse nightclub, with the Boston bombing, with the Sandy Hook Elementary School, with the Pittsburgh synagogue, and all these things perpetuate. So it's completely possible. And it's a reality that the Holocaust story is fake. And I know, Mark Cuban, I don't think he's a practicing Jew, but he does have Jewish heritage. And I think some of his family came from Russia. They had changed their last name. I think it was like Chubinsky or something like that was his real name, or was the name before they changed it to Cuban. He's a liar. I talk about him sending me a profanity-laced email in response to the message I had sent to him telling him that the synagogue shooting was fake. He told me to crawl back under the fucking rock I came from. And then I contacted the Texas Rangers Law Enforcement Agency, the FBI, and the Dallas Police Bureau to report Mark, because he was going around telling people that he knew people who claimed to have known people that were killed. And then Bari Weiss went on an HBO show with Bill Maher and claimed that her father knew 5 of the victims. But, you know, I point out just one person, and there's others. You can find them yourself. Call the synagogue up. Call the Pittsburgh police up. Contact the U.S. Attorney's Office in Pittsburgh. You know, pester them. Demand that they tell the truth. No one was killed. I was going to say, the person that I got some of the information from was Robert David Steele. He pointed out something very basic. There were never any body bags taken out of the synagogue. No one ever removed any dead bodies. No one was killed. So, you know, why wouldn't President Trump talk about this? Why wouldn't he speak up? I wrote a letter to Warren Buffett in Omaha, Nebraska, about 2 weeks ago. I think Warren gets about 300 letters per day, maybe more. I don't know. I know that every time I write a letter to Warren, it gets reported to the FBI because I read my FBI file from 2015. And every time I contacted Berkshire, they reported me to the FBI. Even though, I mean, and I mentioned this in another video, the FBI has something called a threat mechanism, and that was always negative because I never made any threats to Warren. I started calling his office, the Berkshire office, in 1997 after I recovered from a liver transplant that I received at UCSF Medical Center in San Francisco. I know that Warren Buffett contacted President Trump. President Trump posted a Twitter message a few days ago. It said in big letters, Warren 1/2020. I think a lot of people may have interpreted it as, Elizabeth Warren, but I think it was President Trump was giving me a message that Warren had contacted him. I also gave the information to Charlie Munger. Charlie's a lot easier to reach than Warren because Charlie has an email address and he has an assistant that answers his email for him. And Charlie maintains an office at the Munger, Tolles & Olson law firm in Los Angeles. And I sometimes send messages there. In fact, I sent a message to him a couple of times. I sent one yesterday, as well as a message to the CEO of Costco. Charles Munger sits on the board of directors of Costco. We're looking for, or I'm trying to, I don't know if Captain Kramer accepts me, but maybe he will. I'm trying to help him. I want to help myself too, because I'd like to use the device he has, a holographic cellular regeneration bed that restores the human body to a pristine condition, regrows limbs, cures cancer, can be used for age regression. I believe Captain Kramer says that he has some personnel that he's serving with that are over 100 years of age. So I contacted Mr. Munger. I know he's done some work with hospitals. I think he was the chairman of a hospital in Los Angeles. I read it in his book, or not. It was a book about him written by Janet Lowe, titled "Damn Right." It was about Charles T. Munger and his family. And I read in an article in the Los Angeles Times yesterday that Mr. Munger donated $21 million to the Good Samaritan Hospital in Los Angeles. And I emailed the reporter who wrote that story and CC'd it to Mr. Munger's office. And like I mentioned, I contacted the CEO of Costco. I was actually referred to, when I contacted Costco, they referred me to the assistant to the vice president in charge of the pharmaceutical division. And I emailed her. I talked to her on the phone because I got transferred to her after I contacted the CEO of Costco's office. And her name was Ellie, I think, or no. What was her name? Emily. Her name was Emily. Emily. And I emailed her an interview that my friend Lauren Pritchard Ascension did with Captain Kramer, and an interview my friend James Rink did with Captain Kramer. So what I was going to say about that Leslie Bottomly judge here in Multnomah County is I left her a message and told her sister is very corrupt. She won't report the truth in the Oregonian, and she told me to stop emailing her. And there's a lot of corruption in the city of Portland. Mayor Ted Wheeler, his office told me to stop contacting him after I told him that President Trump was being blackmailed, that there was no shooting at the synagogue, that he had needlessly attended a vigil on the 27th with Senator Wyden and Governor Kate Brown. I mentioned that Governor Kate Brown never replied back to me, that Senator Wyden never replied back to me, that I had an issue with federal judge Michael Mossman, that he imprisoned me for 30 days and subjected me to psychotropic drug injections for 3 years that destroyed or seriously messed up my metabolism, which caused me to gain a lot of weight and give me a problem with my lower legs. It's cost me a lot of money. I had to go to the hospital in 2017. I had to go to the hospital because I thought I had a blood clot in my legs. I had ultrasound done. I had x-rays done of my chest, my heart, ultrasound of my heart, blood work. All of this was very expensive. My complaint, my judicial complaint with the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals to Judge Sidney Thomas was dismissed. My calls to Brigham Young University J. Reuben Clark School of Law was ignored. Michael Mossman attended the J. Reuben Clark School of Law at Brigham Young University. He gave a talk there recently in October. His talk was titled How Not to Be Stupid. I left the message and they never returned my phone call. I left a very lengthy message explaining how Judge Mossman seriously abused me after I told him that no one died at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, and that United States government official story of Flight 93 crashing in Shanksville is a lie, that it actually landed in Cleveland, Ohio, that the passengers entered the NASA Glenn Research aircraft hangar and all of the passengers were interviewed by FBI agents, and that Robert Swan Mueller, was the director of the FBI. I mean, there's clues all over the place. The shooting that never happened in Newtown, the made-up shooter, Adam Lanza, him and his made-up mother, Nancy Lanza, lived in a make-believe house on Yogananda Street. And I had mentioned this to Portland Police Detective Tony Harris, that there was a Indian yogi who wrote some books named Paramahansa Yogananda, and his name meant Supreme Swan. Robert Mueller's middle name is Swan. The Sandy Hook Elementary event occurred on December 14th, which is James Comey's birthday. He's another former FBI director. Newtown, Connecticut is where the Sandy Hook Elementary School was located. It was closed down in 2008 because of all the toxic material, building material in the building. Michael White lives in Newcomerstown, Ohio. He owns the Yellow Butterfly Winery. He was the mayor of Cleveland, Ohio. He held a press conference on 9/11/01 where he announced that Flight 93 landed. The passengers entered the NASA Glenn Research aircraft hangar and were interviewed by FBI agents. Michael White's press conference was broadcasted on WCPO. WCPO is located in the Mount Adams area of Cincinnati. The made-up shooter in Newtown was supposed to have been Adam Lanza. Flight 93 landed in Cleveland. The press conference was reported by WCPO, which is located in the Mount Adams area of Cincinnati. You guys making a connection? Lenny Posner is the worst of the worst of the worst of the Sandy Hook hoaxers. He has caused more pain and suffering for people. He has people that follow him on Twitter that send out death threats to people. I got one recently. I'll include a link in the description box. And I'll leave the comments open. You guys can comment whatever you want. That's it. Bye.